Have you ever owned a hot tub before?
No, and unfortunately, no disrespect to you, we're not hot tub people.
Right.
But this, again, no disrespect. Most of the people that we know love it. For us, not so much. But I think it's just a generational thing. I don't know. But long story short, this is going to be something that we're going to enjoy for generations. It's a gift to our children and our children's children. But in the meantime, we want to make some money, so we're Airbnbing it,
Oh,
and you
okay.
need to have a hot tub in this area. So,
Right.
hence the need for this next step.
Nice. Okay.
All right.
I like this, by the way. I would probably stay here
Well,
for a
please
weekend
do.
or something.
Not to be self-serving, but please do.
I'll save your address because every Valentine's weekend I get an Airbnb.
Well, if you
Cabin.
want, sure. Before you leave, I can take you on a quick tour.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry.
Maybe I would record that and.
Sounds good.
I'm just trying to get this stuff off. So, okay, have you ever had a pool or a hot tub or anything?
I'm sorry, you're striking out.
Anything involving chlorine or pH?
Nope.
Okay.
Bathtubs is about as crazy as we go.
All right, I'll start from the beginning as if you know nothing. If you want.
Please do.
So chlorine is the most important thing.
Okay.
Because it kills all your germs.
Even if this is a salt water.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is a salt system, so.
I'm sorry, salt system. Yes.
Which is why I brought this salt system startup kit.
Okay.
There's a little cartridge that I'm gonna plug in here.
Okay.
This is the salt cell or salt cartridge, and it's going to. There's also a 10-pound bag of salt. I'm gonna put some salt in there.
Okay.
About 8 cups of salt, and I'll show that to you in a little bit. But this little piece here that gets plugged in right here is going to take the salt, sodium chloride,
Okay.
and convert that salt into chlorine.
Okay.
So sodium chloride into chlorine.
Okay.
So it's kind of like an extended release pill. I guess that's how I would describe it. It's a slow release of chlorine into the water, so that you don't have to come out here every other day and manually put chlorine in there, because that can get really annoying.
Sure. And expensive, I'm sure.
Basically, it takes care of itself for you. And I'm not sure if this model has the salt system installed yet, or if I need to. It would be under tools. Okay, pause.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay, so now from the home screen,
Okay.
you can, for mode, you can hit either the low or the up or the down button. It'll take you through this little cycle of things. Now you've got the salt system.
Okay.
The plus sign is the enter button, so we're gonna enter the salt menu. It's got an error, of course, an error code, because I haven't plugged in this
Okay.
salt sensor yet. So let's go ahead and do that.
You're very technical. I would have said that whatchamacallit, but you know, style choice.
That works too.
Now, is that something we'll have to do often?
These tend to last about 4 months.
Okay.
So a 3-pack, they come in 3-packs normally.
Okay.
A 3-pack is a year's worth. You can find them on Amazon as well as Scioto Valley. Normally I'm not supposed to tell people that, but you live kind of far away.
I appreciate
this place
that.
at least is far away.
Thank you. Yes. We won't tell.
So I'm just gonna, there's something in there right now. It's a dummy. This is the real thing. I'm just pushing down on this little button.
Okay.
And pulling it out. And then I'm putting this one in before too much water comes out.
Okay.
That's supposed to happen, by the way. A little bit of water will come out just so that you don't get any air bubbles stuck in the pipes and stuff like that.
Okay.
But now that that's in, put that cap back on. You should never need this dummy ever again.
Okay.
Unless one day you were to opt out of having one of the salt systems. If you were to opt out of the salt water situation and just want to do it the old school way,
Okay.
I would just put this plug back in.
Okay. Probably it's worth saving then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll leave this box with you though.
All right.
But nobody's ever really done that before. 'Cause
Okay.
Salt system's pretty nice. Now I think. Okay. Now, if I hit the test button, here, maybe I went too fast. Here, let's exit. Let's go back to the home page. So
Okay.
if you're coming out here and you want to get to your salt menu, hit these arrow keys until you see salt.
Okay.
Plus means enter. So now we're going through the salt menu. There's your output, which I'll explain in a little bit. Boost mode. Test. I'm gonna hit test. It's gonna blink over and over. It's gonna say that we don't have enough salt in there yet.
Okay.
Of course, because it's time. That's the next step, is to
Sure.
add salt.
Okay.
But for future reference, if you ever want to test and see if you have too much or too little salt, you would hit test.
Okay.
I believe.
Yes.
And it's got about 350 gallons in it. So I'm gonna put a little rectangle around this row here. So it's got 350 gallons approximately,
Okay.
meaning it's gonna call for about 8 cups of salt
Okay.
upon startup. Really, any chemical that you put into the water is gonna evaporate eventually,
Sure.
except for salt. Salt's the one thing that stays. The only way that you lose salt and you have to add more later on is if you lose water. So
Okay.
if there's little kids splashing, or if you have a cannonball contest, which that would hurt really bad.
Sure.
So
Sure. Don't recommend it.
So any chemicals other than salt, you can just throw right in the body of water.
Okay.
pH chemicals, chlorine, stuff like that. Salt, though, it's really dense. You don't want a big pile of salt at the bottom.
Sure.
So I've always been taught to put it in through the filter compartment.
Okay.
And then I like to have the jets running on a pretty high setting. That way it's more of a blender.
Okay.
Kind of throws it around. Oops. I should have left it where it was. There we go. And in here, you've got a little measuring cup. Kind of have to dig it out.
Okay.
Here it is.
So 8 cups of salt. How many times is that done a year?
So for most hot tubs, they recommend that you drain and refill it twice a year, spring and
Okay.
fall.
Okay.
For salt systems like this, if you're running salt water, you can get away with doing it once a year.
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
But it depends. I mean, if you've got people in here every single night of the week, I would probably do it twice a year.
Okay.
But I
Now,
doubt that.
So how many? So that's 3 cups. How many fills does that bag have? In other words, is it 2 8 cups, 3 8 cups?
This should last you at least a couple of years.
Oh, okay, great. That was only 4.
I don't know the exact number.
Okay.
But, I thought that was 5. I kind of lost count.
I
there.
did too. I'm sorry. 4 or 5. Does it make a difference if you're 1 cup short?
I'm gonna put another half cup in there,
Okay.
and I like to start with less than 8 anyway.
Okay.
Because then we can hit the test button. It'll test to see. This is the salt sensor. So when you hit the test button on there, it's sending water through a little tube to that sensor, and that sensor is going to tell you on the screen how much salt you have in the water.
Okay.
If you need more, it'll tell you low salt.
Okay.
If you have way too much, it'll tell you high salt.
If that's the case, what do you do?
This is why I like to start with not quite enough and
Sure.
add a little more, because if you have too much, you'll have to take water out in
Okay.
buckets.
Yeah.
And it's a whole process.
Sure,
So,
sure.
so it's good to be conservative with it. I'll probably end up adding a couple more scoops, but now go back to the salt menu here. Low.
Okay.
Not surprised. I'll add another scoop. I'm gonna hit test again because maybe it hasn't updated the test results yet. done blinking, you go back, and it'll tell you low, high, or it just won't say anything, which
Okay.
means that you're where you need to be.
I'm still thinking.
You don't have to have the exact amount. Usually it's, if you're within 1 or 2 scoops of where you need to be, it'll tell you that you're fine.
Okay. Now it stopped blinking, but it still says test.
Okay, so now, you exit, and then go back into the salt menu. I think it's, okay, so we just started getting this model here.
Okay.
Salt. Some of the other ones have a touch screen and whatnot. This one I'm still kind of learning
Okay.
on my own, so I might make a phone call and just see,
Sure.
just to make sure I'm not telling you the wrong thing. But if it's not saying low, then you have enough salt.
Okay.
But I have not seen this message before. So let's go to that salt menu.
Yeah.
7 LT. Oh. It's saying 7 out of 10, which means that we're good. But as long as, like, when you click on salt, you go immediately into the salt menu. This is what comes up right now. If it were to say low or high instead of this, then that's when you know you have to make an adjustment.
Okay.
If it says this, you're fine.
Okay.
So now out, this is the output. This is the amount of chlorine that's being produced and put out into the water. It's the rate at which chlorine is being produced and put out into the water.
Okay.
So more people per week means more germs, which means you need a higher level. It goes from 0 to 10. 6 is considered normal,
Okay.
but that's for if this is a family house and maybe a family of 4. People are getting in maybe 3 to 5 nights a week.
Okay.
Level 6 would be considered normal.
Okay.
Putting out chlorine to 60% of its ability. If
Okay.
That makes sense. Level 10 would be it's doing as much as it can to kill all the germs. If if there's a whole month that no one's even going to be touching this water, I would leave it on level 3.
Okay.
I would say there's no reason to ever go lower than 3.
Okay.
There actually is a little booklet in here. So just remember, chlorine is like bleach.
Okay.
Same thing. It just kills the germs. I'm assuming you prefer English.
Yes.
Good. On the back
Even though I
side of-
struggle with that language sometimes.
there is a little guide here
Okay.
for certain situations. My aunt and uncle have one of these. It's not the same exact model, but I left it on level 1 for them one time because they were on vacation for 2 weeks.
Sure.
They came back to green water. So
Oh.
what I've found over the years is 3 is the lowest you would want to go. So I'll put a 3 there.
So if it's green water, if we ever would run into that situation, what do we do? Hey, honey.
Hi.
How are
Mark,
you?
this is
I'm
Steve.
Mark.
Steve,
Nice
this
to
is
meet you.
Mark.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out. I know it's a long way.
No problem. I'm happy to be out of the office.
Are you? Okay. Well, good. I'm glad to hear it.
And he's thinking about running this place, so I said we'll give him a tour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're not proud.
Yeah, I would never go lower than level 3. I crossed out the 1 and I put a
Okay.
3 there.
So what happens if it's green water? He was talking
So-
about some relatives that were gone from and this output
Okay.
means the amount of chlorine that is needed to kill all the germs.
So here, we'll go to our salt menu. The plus sign is the enter button.
Okay.
To our salt menu. Output goes from 1 to 10.
So,
6 is considered normal.
okay.
And then
Why would I put it on 10 then?
if you know that there's a party of 7 people, you know, a
Right.
big group of people coming over, you're going to want to produce a lot of extra chlorine. More people means more germs, which means you need more chlorine to kill those germs. Because once a chlorine molecule binds with the bacteria that it's killing, it becomes canceled out, dead chlorine. So it's kind of like a war. You can think of it as soldiers. It's
Okay. That's a good way to look at it.
chlorine versus bacteria.
Chlorine
molecules.
wins, yeah. But I'm sorry though, if it's on low and it does turn green, do we just simply increase this number for how long and it'll kill the green?
Yeah, I would crank it up to level 10.
Okay. How long does that take typically?
Well, actually, I don't know if you said that, but you could just do this. So, go back to the salt menu. You see the word boost?
Yes.
Boost. If I hit the plus sign here, it'll turn on boost mode.
Okay.
And now that it's blinking, that means it's on.
Okay.
That puts it on level 10 for 24 hours.
Great.
So if you're just stopping by one day, you can put it in boost mode and then head out 24 hours from that. The next day at the same time, it'll revert back to 6 or whatever level. you
Oh,
have.
automatically. We don't have to do anything. Okay.
Right.
Great.
So I'm
Okay.
so it calls for around 8 cups of salt. Level 6 is considered normal, but that would be for maybe a family of 4. Family of 4 or 5. People are getting in here 3 to 5 nights a week.
Okay.
There's no such thing as putting too much chlorine in there, really. I guess there is a such thing, because it'll start to smell like a hotel pool, but
Yeah.
Well, to be clear, so I thought that with the saltwater hot tub, which this is, you put in bromine that actually made chlorine.
so we just added salt,
Okay.
sodium chloride, and then there's a little salt sensor that we put in here.
Okay.
This sensor is taking that sodium chloride and converting it into chlorine. So technically it's still a chlorine tub, but you need a lot less chlorine than you would on a old school tub
Gotcha.
to have the water stay clear and whatnot, because it's like an extended release pill basically.
Well, the place doesn't really smell like chlorine.
Right. If you ever smell chlorine, like that the hotel smell,
Yes.
Right.
it's dead chlorine floating around in their water.
That's what gives it. I did not know that.
Because there's no way for it to evaporate and get out of the room that it's in, especially those
Okay.
indoor pools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, like, if you get that smell, I would just leave the cover open for a good 1 or 2 hours.
Okay.
Let the jets run, and it'll vaporize. That just means that you've got a lot of dead soldiers in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if you recorded it all,
I-
I have to go back upstairs, but I just wanted to stop down for a minute.
I'm kind of doing chapters, you know, when
No,
you
you're
start.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, what
well,
are you saying?
we've got it. We can watch it later. I'm good with that. We'll upload it to ChatGPT and ask it a bunch of questions about what you said.
If you ever buy a different brand test kit, that's fine, but just as long as it's testing for free chlorine, FCL, you're good to go. I know a lot of them will test for free chlorine and total chlorine, TCL. Free chlorine's the one that matters. It's the active chlorine that hasn't had to kill any bacteria yet.
Okay.
It's just floating around waiting for germs to get in there. Total chlorine is that plus all the dead chlorine in there. So a lot of people will see that there's a lot of total chlorine, like it's in the dark purple. So they're like, wow, I have enough chlorine in there. Why is it green? But free chlorine will be white. There will be no free chlorine in there. So it's really just all dead chlorine in their hot tub. That's why it smells so bad too. Does that make sense?
I feel like I should go back to Columbus State and take a class in chemistry.
I'm trying to make it.
You're fine.
As dummy-proof
you
as
know what it's
possible.
like. It's like anything else. You know it all, and we're like, I don't know. I haven't thought about this stuff in 40 years.
I
didn't
started
think about it
this.
much right
I started this program recently.
now. Okay.
I'm trying to make everything digestible and understandable.
I appreciate it. That's a
But-
good skill to have in life in general.
I don't know if it's working.
Yeah.
Well, we are your perfect case, that's for sure.
I'll give you my card though. Free chlorine. You want it to be in that little bracket there, 3 to 5. See this second square here? I crossed out the first one. We don't need bromine. This square here is white. There's no pink or purple in it. We want it to match with these colors here, 3 to 5. That means there's no free chlorine in there. So I'm gonna add some chlorine just to kind of jumpstart it, if that makes sense. And then hopefully, not hopefully, the salt system is going to take over from that point and maintain the chlorine level from there. Does that make sense? It's like I'm giving it an injection and then there's an extended release pill that just keeps it maintained.
Okay.
pH and alkalinity are the same thing pretty much. I can get scientific if you want, but as long as you know pH and alkalinity are always going to match each other for the most part. You've got the cotton candy colors out here. It's pretty high for both of them, which tells me that we need to put some pH minus powder in there too.
Okay.
So right now we need, based on this test strip, we need pH minus and chlorine. So you got that bucket of chemicals, right?
We do?
Yes. It kind of does everything. Am I right or no? Or does it just tell you when you have to do something?
The salt system you mean?
Well, just they put a frog in there. Well, in fairness, theirs is not salt, but they put a frog in theirs, and I can't remember if it does everything or if it just tells them, "Hey, you need to do something."
Well, from what I understand, it floats upright, and then when it
Right,
starts
right.
to turn to its side, you need to pay attention. And then when it's upside down, it's like,
It's like literally same thing as one of those extended release pills. That's why I explain it like that, because that floater is slowly releasing chlorine into the water, just like this is. But this is creating chlorine out of nothing, or out of.
So it
salt
doesn't
system.
apply though, regardless, because it releases chlorine, and we don't do that. We rely on the sensor to release the salt. Apparently, the salt, right? That
It's taking the salt in the water, sodium chloride, and it's producing chlorine. It's converting that into chlorine. So,
but regardless, we wouldn't use a frog or whatever that thing is.
yeah, if you were to use the frog, you would have to pay for a new one every month. Whereas for this, for an entire year, you don't really have to put any chlorine in there or anything. You don't have to pay for all that. It's kind of like how a car runs on gasoline.
Right.
The salts. This is making chlorine out of the salt that's in the water, but you don't. I guess I can't compare it to a car because the more you hit the gas pedal, the more gas you use up. You're not using up salt. Salt stays in the water no matter what, unless you splash water out, have a bunch of little kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got it.
So really, you shouldn't have to touch this bag of salt until next year.
Okay.
When you drain it and refill it,
okay.
ideally.
I'm gonna head back up.
All right, babe.
So.
All right.
I'm sorry
Thank
to
you.
confuse you.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We just have a lot to learn. That's so good.
Bucket. What a lot of people will use, including in those frog systems, those have granular chlorine inside of them.
Okay.
It's just the powder form of chlorine,
Okay.
or the grain form. I would stay away from that. So I'm gonna give you this gallon jug of.
Stay away from
liquid.
what they gave us.
Yeah, I would stay away from the granular one. I'll put that in the do not use category.
Okay.
Now that you have a salt system installed, that stuff is bad for the salt sensor.
Okay. So, do not use this.
Yeah. It's bad for the salt sensors because it has like cyanuric acid mixed into it. This stuff, which is pretty much Clorox bleach, this is liquid chlorine. It's pure chlorine. And I mean, the whole point of the salt system is so that you don't have to manually put chlorine in there.
Right.
But right now, this is one of those situations where we're just jump starting it,
Sure.
going from 0 to where we need to be. It's kind of like cheating. But this right here, I would say that's no more than a half a cup.
Okay.
That's considered a massive dose.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because of this test strip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that'll bring you from 0 to where you need to be.
Okay.
and you may smell a little something for the next 30 minutes,
Okay.
but that'll go away.
Yeah, I sure do.
As long as we leave the jets running and everything, have the cover open. So I could have just cranked it up to level 10 and waited for it to slowly go up on its own. So, does that make sense? Kind of what I'm saying? I could have put the chlorine output on level 10
Sure.
and just, you would have had to wait 2 to 3 days for it to slowly go up to where
Okay.
it needs to be. Whereas at this point, upon startup, we might as well cheat our way to the top. That way you don't end up with green water because it's taking too long.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. We don't have anybody rented this weekend because we weren't sure how long the contractors were going to be, but he just left. So we're hoping that we get rented for this weekend. So, you know, we want this to be able to be usable. Yeah.
Makes sense. So you'll see on your home screen here. Let me exit. Let's say you just walked up to this. You'll see a message on your home screen. It will say replace cartridge. I believe that's what it will say. It's time to replace this. So in about 4 months, it'll be time to replace this, and then you'll go back to your salt menu here, right here. When you see the word change, hit the enter button.
Okay.
And then it turns off all the jets so that you can open this up without getting splashed in the face.
Gotcha.
And then it's telling us to remove it. I'm just gonna trick it into thinking that I'm putting a new one in there. It says remove. Sometimes the very first time you do that, it freezes, but it should never do that again.
Okay.
I don't know why, but that's just the way it
Persnickety,
It
huh?
happens every time. So, where's that electrical box? I'm just gonna turn everything off and back on.
Okay.
But you should never have to do that. Message, and then partially because of it didn't notice. I think I pulled it out too quickly before it said remove on the screen.
Okay.
So I caused it to freeze.
So you had to reset the breaker. Okay.
Yeah, which is not a big deal, but so yeah, so we don't have that message anymore, which is good. But change, I just changed it out. Just now you know, if there's jets running and stuff, you can just hit change. It'll shut off all the jets until you're done replacing this, so
Okay.
you don't get splashed in the face.
Okay.
You don't necessarily have to hit the change button. You could just do it real quick.
If it's a hot day, sure.
We might as well test again, make sure we have the right amount of salt in there. But that's pretty much, I think that's the gist of how it works. I know it's a lot of
Well,
info.
you're going to be on speed dial, I'm afraid, for the next 30 days or so.
I'm gonna let it test and grab my card real
Okay.
quick.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you have any questions, let us know, or you can call the service department. You know, the next day there's a guest coming over and you really need to get rid of the cloudy water.
Sure.
You could always dip a test strip in there, take a picture of it, and just say, what do I need to do? And I'll text you back.
I probably will be doing that often, just so you know.
That's fine. What was the other thing? You have really soft water, so you don't have, I can tell there's no calcium, iron, or copper in your water. You've got like a good filtration system and
Okay.
everything. This right here, you're not gonna need then.
Okay.
Assuming that you're using the same water source every time to fill this up.
Does that come with it? I guess we
This-
wouldn't mind keeping it just in case.
This just comes with
Okay.
the whole startup kit, but
Okay.
we don't need it because you've got really soft water.
Okay. Good.
Pretty impressive for being in this area. But
Well-
a lot of people just sell this for $45 on eBay, honestly.
Wow. Well, I tell you. It started to smell like sulfur after a while. So my husband found something that I think is called an anal rod that you can replace in the water filter, and it's just like this. The good soldiers are attacking the bad soldiers, which takes away that sulfur smell. So that
Okay.
could be that plus the water softener. But would you mind going over some of the stuff that we have in here?
Oh, sure.
I mean, they're all brown bottles, but I'm assuming they all say something different.
Yeah, so I like to separate these into a few different groups.
Okay.
I know this bucket is really intimidating with how much they put in there, but some of these I'm going to put a big X on
Okay.
with a Sharpie. There's a regular use category, a do not use category.
Okay.
They give the same bucket of chemicals to every customer, so if you have a salt system, you're not going to need some of these. So these two, putting an X.
Okay.
These ones are bad for the salt
Okay.
sensor. The salt system already does the job of these anyway,
Okay.
so you don't need those. I would put these in the do not use category. Let's see. This. Okay, so these four in the middle, I would consider these regular use. Really, first off, these two, pH plus and pH minus, these are actually regular use. So I'm gonna put a big plus sign and a big minus sign. Today your pH was pretty high,
Okay.
so actually I don't think I put any in there. I think I forgot. So I'm gonna put a little bit of pH minus in there to bring down the pH
Okay.
because it was really high. For a hot tub of this size, pH plus and pH minus, one cap full is gonna move you about 1 square on the test kit that I was
Okay.
using. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And then I'm gonna do 2 for now. Might not be enough, but it's into the hot tub. Generally, the pH is gonna go down.
Okay.
The water gets more acidic because of sweat, body oils, and hopefully not, but kids peeing and
Oh,
things
sure.
like that.
Yes.
So really, pH plus is what you'll be using the most often out of this whole bucket.
Okay.
Just every once in a while, every time you come visit, you're probably gonna want to bump it up a little bit with some pH plus.
Okay.
Usually if you have to use pH minus, it's because you accidentally put too much plus in there. And
Gotcha.
You're kind of fixing your mistake.
Sure.
Except for right now, upon startup, the water has naturally low pH, or I mean high pH, so we had to lower it. But
Okay.
from today on, really this is what you'll be using. After a weekend of a bunch of people getting in there, you'll probably have to turn to this.
Okay.
pH plus is baking soda, so I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's baking soda.
I won't tell if you won't tell.
So I'll just write that on there. Why
Thank
not?
you. Well, I truly appreciate it. Just traditional, go to Kroger's, Myers, and get baking soda.
Yep, it's
Okay.
sodium bicarbonate is
Okay.
the name of it. It's the same exact thing as baking soda.
Okay.
So you didn't hear it from me, but I just go to like Dollar General and buy a whole big thing of baking soda.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot cheaper.
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you.
These two I also consider part of the regular use category,
Okay.
and I mean to an extent. I always put the letter M for monthly.
Okay.
Hopefully you can read that. Now this one, before I talk about them, these are both liquids.
Okay.
These are powders. So 1 capful is a dose
Okay.
of the powders. For the liquids, 1 liquid ounce. What my family does is we just put a shot glass in our bucket there and use that
Okay.
to measure out a liquid ounce. because I believe a shot is a liquid ounce or a little bit more than a liquid ounce.
Okay.
Unless you have a different measuring device that's more professional.
No, I think
but-
that's it. Well, you're not going to mess up that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Scale preventer. Scaling. If you ever do have scaling, you'll know because on the walls and the seats, it'll start to feel kind of like a chalkboard. It'll feel real rough.
Okay.
Instead of that squeaky clean feeling that you have right now.
Okay.
That means you've got scaling. This stuff just gets rid of all that within minutes.
Good.
And
Okay.
I wouldn't wait till you have those symptoms. I would just once a month.
First of the month, take care of that. Okay.
Once a month, just put a liquid ounce in there. Because if you do have scaling, that means it's forming in the pipes as well.
Okay.
And you don't want this thing to only last 8 years. You want it to
No.
last like 30 years at least.
At least, exactly. And so how safe is it to go into the hot tub once this is put in?
It's safe.
Like right away? I don't have to wait a half an hour?
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
The only thing, I mean, all of these are safe. I would just say the only time I would wait a while to get in is if your water's pH is really low,
Okay.
it's acidic, and that's when people get bloodshot eyes and irritated skin.
Okay.
So, but if it's high, that's fine.
Okay.
People's bodies being in there will actually help it go down a little bit
Okay.
too.
Okay.
I have to talk about this one. Natural enzyme. I always put monthly, but since you're Airbnb-ing this place,
Yes.
I would say if you know that your guests got into the hot tub, after each guest, I would just put a liquid ounce in
Okay.
there. And there's a better brand of it that they might have given you or might not have.
I want to show you when you're finished some other stuff it gave us, and you can tell us what that's about.
Okay. It should be a white bottle with a handle on the side called Spa Perfect. It's just a better brand of this stuff.
Okay.
So it's the same thing. I would put a liquid ounce in after each guest leaves,
Okay. Good to
assuming
know.
that they used the hot tub.
Sure.
But the way I describe this, it's my favorite one. Chlorine kills all your living contaminants like bacteria, algae. Natural enzyme, or Spa Perfect, takes care of your non-living junk that people bring into the water, like dead skin and sweat,
Okay.
makeup, lotions, all that stuff.
Sure.
It eats up some of that stuff, and some of the stuff that it doesn't eat up, it clumps it up so that the filters can pull it out.
Okay.
That being said, but if you are using it monthly, which is fine, I like to, later in the day, that same day or the next day is the perfect time to take out that filter and spray it down with a garden hose and get all that junk
The
out of
filter.
it.
Oh, okay. The one that's bobbing around right now?
Yeah. And have you messed with that yet?
No. Mm-mm.
So there's a cap down here. You just unscrew that. And there's your filter.
Okay.
I like to take that out once a month, spray it down with the hose,
Okay.
just to get all the dirt out of it, and it's kind of satisfying. I would say a year or a year and a half from now, it's going to start to get real flimsy and floppy, and it'll probably be stained.
Okay.
So you'll know when it's time to replace it.
Okay.
But usually like a year and a half, maybe even up to 2 years.
The filter. Okay. Great.
It's nice to have a backup around.
Sure.
So yeah, regular use here. These two are your problem solvers. So only use if needed. You can use this if you want to.
Oh, I
write
can't do
anything.
two things at once here. Could you put P for problem or PS for problem solver? Because I like your system a lot.
On the lid,
Wherever you think is best.
these lids are kind of hard to write on. But,
Or maybe just like right here.
PS.
For problem solver.
Bad,
Wonderful.
bad handwriting.
Oh, trust me, it's not. It's good compared to mine.
So yeah, only use if necessary.
Okay.
Defoamer. It's inevitable. At some point, you'll probably have it turn into a bubble bath kind of.
Ugh. And does that mean
so-
that the guest did something?
Soap made its way in there somehow. Yeah.
Okay.
Like usually the main culprit would be laundry detergent.
Oh.
left over in swimsuits or t-shirts or anything like that.
Okay.
Actually, I wouldn't say the main culprit. A lot of times I would tell the guests to rinse off their hair. A lot of people have dry shampoo and stuff like that.
Okay.
Lotions. Anything soapy that makes its way into the water causes foam.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you get foam in there, what I like to do is just, there's a little aluminum cap on there.
Okay.
I like to take a Bic pen or a knife and just poke a little hole in it and just go psh, like one little squirt into
Okay.
that water.
Okay.
And within 10 seconds, all the foam disappears, and it's kind of fun to watch.
Sure.
That being said, it's just a Band-Aid, because the next day it's going to come right back.
Oh, okay.
And if you have like this much foam and it's really annoying, all you can really do is drain it and start all over. So I would put an emphasis on trying to have people rinse off before getting in
Okay.
there.
Good to know. Good to know. And are those two bottles the same?
Defoamer. This one's clarifier.
Okay.
So it's different. If you look up clarifier, there's a million different opinions on when to use it and what it does. My understanding of clarifier and what's worked for me is using it as an emergency thing for, usually if your water's cloudy, it's because there's not enough chlorine in there. It's bacteria building up. Adding more chlorine is going to fix that problem, but if your water's cloudy for a different reason, like usually it's an accident, maybe somebody dropped a Snickers bar in there or a
Okay.
glass of orange juice, that's when you would use clarifier to kind of clump up all those particles and get all that junk out.
Okay.
A lot of people see the word clarifier and they're like, the water's not clear, and they immediately see the word clarifier, they want to use that. I would stay away from it as much as possible.
Okay.
It really won't help. It might even make things worse foam-wise.
Okay.
So I've always tried to stay away from it as much as possible.
Okay.
If someone spills something nasty in there, it might be a good idea just to drain it and refill it.
We've got 3 sets of friends who own Airbnbs, more central located in the Hocking Hills area. Obviously, believe it or not, the Hocking Hills area is now coming out this way, so we're hoping to capitalize on it. But they're pretty much at the heart, and I only share that with you as some of the stories that they have told. This is one of the reasons we didn't want a hot tub. I mean, like children's diapers and just it's outrageous, the stories that we're hearing. So let's say worst case scenario, what do we do there? I'm a
Like
what if
diapers
girl.
and stuff?
Like what of everything that's in my arsenal, what would you do to?
Okay.
It's really disgusting to even think about.
Without censoring myself, if people are having sex.
Yes.
This.
Okay, all right.
Natural enzyme.
We do mention, please do not perform bedroom activities, but
Right.
I'm sure people will not listen. Okay.
Oh man.
All right. Good to know. This one right here.
So bodily stuff.
Okay.
This takes care of.
All right. Very good. All right.
Any spills? No more than a liquid ounce of clarifier.
Okay.
You really only need a little squirt, kind of like with the defoamer. You just
Okay.
need a squirt, really just a few drops of defoamer. That's really all there is to it.
Okay.
These 3 are optional for cleaning and maintenance.
Okay.
Small one here, spa cleaner. That's for when it's empty. You can use it to wipe down the walls and seats and everything.
Okay.
It's the same thing as whatever's in the kitchen, like Formula 409. Actually, I like to avoid soapy stuff like that because of foam. So I always just use warm water and vinegar to wipe everything
Good
down.
to know. Okay.
Personally. Cover protector, that's for the top side of the cover.
Okay.
You just like soak a rag in it on the next nice day that you're around and just wipe a little protective layer
Okay.
on the top side of that cover to protect it from the sun and getting sun bleached and changing colors.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you buy a new pair of shoes, they try to sell you the spray stuff.
Exactly. Yes.
But this actually works pretty well. It's kind of a one-time use. And then I always save this one for last to talk about. Filter clean. because I'm not a fan of it at all.
Okay.
A lot of people will use that, and they'll call in the next day saying that they've got like 3 feet of foam in their water, and it's a detergent. So, like I said, I like to, when it's time to clean the filters, I like to just rinse them off
Okay.
and then replace them once a year.
Okay.
But some people will use this every 3rd month. They'll take a bucket like this, fill it with water, put a half a bottle of filter clean in there, and soak the filter for 2 hours. Rinse it off, put it back in. If you don't rinse it enough, though, you're gonna have
I
issues.
hear what you're saying. Sure. Okay, let me show you some stuff inside then.
I'm supposed to take this back with me.
Oh, okay.
This, since I believe you're on well water.
Yes.
Everyone who's on well water, they give one of these too.
Okay.
To fill it for the first time. It's
Oh.
a softener. But
Oh, okay.
you've already got a good filtration
Okay.
system, so I'll take that.
And then what are these?
This is the Spa Perfect I was talking about.
Oh, great. Okay.
So this is natural enzyme. Spa Perfect is the best brand.
Okay.
So I would use this one and then maybe keep that other one as your backup.
Good to know. Okay.
Maybe put a little M on there. Metal remover.
I think we already used that, didn't we? Is that empty?
It's empty.
Okay.
Maybe your water was so soft because you put the metal remover in there.
We were told to do that. Some instructions.
Which is fine.
Yeah, there was a gentleman that called. I think his name was Mike, but don't quote me on it. He was going through
Mike, yeah.
a dead zone, and I was having a hard time hearing. And then he called, and it was starting to give these instructions. I'm like, uh-oh. So could you just, and I asked him, would he mind just simply texting us these instructions? And that's what he did.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Phosphate remover. I'm not entirely sure if you're going to need this yet, so I'm going to do a test.
Okay. Yeah,
I
that's
would
fine.
say 90% of customers need it. Like all around Columbus, the phosphate level, the test results are usually like between 1,000 and 2,500. They're really
Okay.
high. You want it to be as close to 0 as possible.
Okay.
It's fine if you have phosphates in your drinking water and whatnot, but it's kind of bad to have it in hot tubs and pools
Okay.
because phosphates eat up your chlorine level. They eat up all your chlorine like crazy. And so you would have a really hard time maintaining your chlorine, and you would have to keep it on the production on level 10 all the time.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So if we just get all the phosphates out today, then you should be fine until the next time that you drain and refill.
Okay. And so what is the, as we're waiting for those results, what is the optimal temperature that we should keep a hot tub at?
It's personal preference. I like 102.
Okay.
It's my favorite. 101, if there's children, maybe.
Okay.
104, anything above 102 for me personally makes me feel like I'm having a fever and I gotta get out 15
Okay.
minutes later.
Okay.
It's personal preference, but 100 to 102 is generally what people like. So if you look down through the bottom of the tube,
Yes.
see it kind of, let's see, it matches up to between 3 and 500, I would
Sure.
say.
So we need to get that lower.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and put oops, some phosphate remover in
Okay.
there. And this one, I'll go ahead and write on it. Ounces every refill. So today would count as a refill.
Okay.
And you don't have to use this, but
No.
you might as
yeah.
well.
Sure.
It'll help you out. And then I like to create as much agitation as possible when I'm putting this stuff in.
Okay.
So the air controls.
You really can't get back there, I guess, unless you're in there.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
And I'm kind of just eyeballing it. Might have been a little bit over 2 ounces, but you'll see within the next hour if you're going to be around.
Sure, we will.
You'll see it kind of creates a little bit of foam at the top, and those are your phosphates like getting brought to the surface.
Okay.
And it does kind of make your water a little bit cloudy. It will for the next few hours, but that'll go away.
Okay. So we don't need to do anything.
So you will find in about an hour if you come out here, you'll see along the water line most likely, or stagnant areas like maybe floating around in here, like some yellowish, I guess cottage cheese looking stuff.
Okay.
And I know it's gross, but it's kind of satisfying because it's all the junk, all the bad stuff that's getting brought up to the surface.
Okay.
I would just take like a towel, or I like those magic eraser sponges.
Okay.
Just kind of scoop it off the water line or out of
Okay.
here. You'll see in the more stagnant areas, like right here where the water's not moving so much, it's gonna build up.
Okay. So that'll happen about an hour to 2 hours later.
Yeah. So if you notice a little bit of a ring around the water line, like a brown or yellowish ring, this is why.
Okay.
And then I'll just wipe that off and try to scoop all that good stuff out of the water.
Okay. Okay.
Those are the phosphates that you're removing.
Gotcha.
And we're kind of just doing this. I mean, by tonight it's going to be fine. It'll be clear then.
Okay.
And it does kind of, like I said, having phosphates in your water heats up the chlorine quite a bit. But so does having phosphate remover in your water. It runs on chlorine, so
Okay.
it heats up the chlorine too. So I'm gonna add a little bit extra. And by tonight you should be fine to get in if you really want to do.
Okay. No, I don't think we're going to stay that long. But yeah, I just want to make sure that if we do get weekend guests, that we get that yellow scum removed.
I mean, as long as you're here for the next hour,
Okay.
I would just let it run with the cover open the way it is right now, and then you can head out after
Okay.
wiping it down.
Sounds good.
It takes a lot of phosphates.
Okay.
It soaks them all up. So.
Well,
Like I said, I know it's gross, but I would say it's necessary.
sure. No, I'm glad. I think the worst thing is to have a review by saying, yeah, it was great, but once we got into the hot tub, we had skin rashes, or I don't know. I have no idea what people would complain about, but I wouldn't want the hot tub to, because we missed something.
Right. I know that I'm supposed to make a big deal out of all these chemicals, but the truth is, really, you'll be fine as long as you're taking care of your pH and your chlorine.
Okay.
Those are the two most important things.
Okay.
And then I would definitely have some defoamer and some Spa Perfect on hand as well
Okay.
for those gross situations, soapy situations.
Sure.
I know it's a lot of info to take in, but
It really
you've got my card.
is. It really is.